The best thing about this is that I'm getting texture, I'm getting the vegetables at every bite. I can taste the stock penetrating the noodle. What I'm not missing is watery broccoli or zucchini. Did I mention how good the mint is in here? Welcome to Dialed In, my series where I take one dish and do it well. I'm Chris Schaffner, chef and an integrative health coach, and today we're talking about pasta primavera. Pasta primavera is just one of those dishes that sounds good, like you want to love it. But too often in the real world, it just becomes like a catch-all vegetarian dish. Soggy, wet vegetables are paired with a gluey cream sauce and overcooked pasta that just makes this weird, sticky, gluey, flavorless mashup of out-of-season vegetables. So today I'm going to walk you through my version of pasta primavera. This is unlike any pasta primavera dish you've ever seen before, but if you master the basic techniques that go into it, you're going to be able to make an amazing dish to feed your friends and family, or maybe just yourself. Now, pasta primavera, in essence, is a very simple dish. You got pasta, and you got primavera. That's spring. Essentially, it's a dish that's noodles, cream, and vegetables. Here's what I think goes wrong with pasta primavera. First of all, you get chunky vegetables and maybe a spaghetti, a long noodle that's not suited for it. Second of all, you get a cream sauce that's over-reduced, sticky and gluey. After it sits on your plate for a few minutes, you have watery vegetables and you have gluey, stodgy pasta. Third thing is that most often you're served this dish year-round, or with vegetables that span the seasons: broccoli, zucchini, asparagus. Now, I'm not saying everything in a primavera has to be in season. You can take this base and you can add in whatever vegetables you want. But the point is, let's try to bring it a little back to the soul. I mean, after all, it's called primavera. It means spring. And the last thing most pasta primaveras get wrong is it's bland. It's bland and it's bad, and it ends up on menus where somebody lacks the creativity to cook a good quality vegetarian dish, and it gets ordered because people like you and me go in and it's spring and we go, man, pasta in the flavor of spring. How wonderful that sounds. I want to have that. And I do. So somebody out there, if any chefs see this, make this recipe, put it on your menu, give me a shout, I'll come eat it. Okay, so let's take on the problems one by one. First of all, the noodle. We're using casarecchi. How do you pronounce casarecchi noodle?
I think you're asking about casaretice pasta. It's a short Sicilian noodle with a rolled, twisted shape. Literally means homemade. The stress lands on the second syllable of the last part.
Can you say it again for me, please?
Sure. It's pronounced casaretice. The stress is on that middle syllable, Ray.
Casarecchi noodles. Thank you.
You got it. Enjoy cooking with them.
Okay, today we're doing casarecchi noodles. One of the many tricks to good pasta cookery is choosing the right noodle for the right sauce. If you have short chunky food in your pasta sauce, you get a short chunky noodle. And I'm sorry for any Italians out there if I'm wrong, and there's exclusions and inclusions and all sorts of little Italian rules. When you're buying dry pasta, one of the most important things you can do is make sure you're getting a good quality noodle. And what you're looking for is something that's been bronze die extruded. The pasta literally is extruded through a machine that has a bronze die. The die is what the pasta comes out of. And why that's important is bronze over stainless steel or Teflon or whatever other materials they might use, it'll have imperfections in the actual milling of the bronze, and what that does is it causes the noodle to have little microscopic irregularities, and those irregularities will hold on to the sauce. More surface area equals more sauce grab. Most grocery stores nowadays seem to have a pretty good selection of high quality pasta and diverse selection. However, a good substitute might be penne rigata. The rigata refers to the ridges on the penne, so not the smooth-sided penne. So that's step one. We got our pasta. Instead of using a long noodle, we're using a casarecchi noodle or a bronze die extruded penne rigata. Part two, let's talk about cream. Too often, pasta primavera, it gets a gluey, over-reduced cream sauce. For me, that doesn't scream spring. That screams like middle of winter comfort food. So what we're gonna do for this recipe is we're gonna take our spring vegetables and we're gonna use fresh basil and mint to create a pesto. And then we're going to bind that all up with the reduction of the pasta water, the Parmesan in the pesto, and some really high quality grass finished butter. The seasonal problem. So today we're using local asparagus, English peas, and spring garlic as the base for our pesto, along with some greenhouse grown cherry tomatoes. Now you could use this pesto base and add in whatever other spring vegetables you might like. Zucchini, green beans, fava beans, and then finally, the blandness. So to up the flavor in this dish, we're using chili flake, lemon zest, lemon juice, and equal parts pine nut and sunflower seed in our pesto. A little bit unconventional, but adds a whole bunch of robust depth. So today what we're making is cassoulet noodle with an asparagus and an English pea pesto flavored with basil, mint, pine nut, sunflower seed, a touch of lemon, and Parmesan cheese, aka Pasta Primavera 2.0. Get a pot of water boiling, lightly salted. This is going to get reduced down later, so don't overdo it here. To prep efficiently, I like to get set up with a bowl on my dominant hand side for all of my prepped goods, and then a scrap tray in front of me for all of my trim. We're going to save the woody ends of the asparagus for stock. Now the easiest way to snap asparagus and remove the woody part is to find the middle of the stalk, apply medium pressure, and use your thumb and forefinger to snap it down near the base. Try not to snap too far up so you get the best yield. I made a whole other video about asparagus prep and you can check it out on my channel. Once they're snapped, we cut 1-inch pieces for the pesto and keep the tips for garnish. A simple way to do this is to line up all the tips either with your hand or the edge of a knife, then cut the asparagus up and leave the tips in a separate dish. For the peas, because they're in season, we're using these beautiful English peas. They just take a little bit of time and effort to shell. This is a great task for kids. Now you can absolutely use frozen peas, but since we're trying to make the best pasta primavera, we're going to use what's in season and available. Next we're going to blanch the asparagus in the English peas. The first step is to get an ice bath ready, equal parts ice and cold tap water. Carefully add the asparagus and peas to the boiling water all at once and set a timer for 1 minute. Blanching drives the trapped air out of the vegetable, making the green pigment brighter. The ice bath stops the cooking and locks the green color in. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but for our purposes, that'll work. Once we strain the peas and asparagus into the ice bath, we add our reserved pea husks and asparagus ends back into the pot, add 2 bay leaves, and let that cook for about 30 to 45 minutes at a light boil. Then we strain our peas and asparagus, getting as much water off them as possible. While the stock makes itself, we'll prepare the rest of the ingredients for the pesto. First is the garlic. This is really nice spring garlic. Spring garlic has a more rubbery skin, so instead of cutting off the bottom, I prefer to cut down from the top and peel it open from there rather than trying to break it apart to release the cloves. Trim them up and take off any of the paper skin. As I mentioned, spring garlic has a slightly rubbery skin instead of a dry, papery one. On to the herbs. The mint is already picked here. When I'm picking the mint, I just want the leaves, and when I'm picking the basil, I'm making sure to not get any of the large stems. A little stem attached to the leaf is fine, but too much and you'll end up with stringy fibers in the dish. The cheese. This is Parmigiano Reggiano. You can see how it has those little cheese crystals formed in it, which tells you it's been aged for a long time. Another thing to note is that real Parmesan Reggiano is labeled right on the outside of the cheese. There are imposters out there. Not all Parmesan is created equal. I'm using this awesome microplane grater. I absolutely love it. Basil, mint, pine nuts, garlic, and the sunflower seeds all go into the food processor with a couple of good glugs of high quality extra virgin olive oil, and we let her rip. About 30 seconds to a minute depending on how strong your food processor is. We're trying to get the garlic and pine nuts crushed up pretty small here. This is practically a pesto as is, and it should look like this when it's done. Now we add the Parmesan, the blanched peas and asparagus all at once. We're going to pulse it until it's combined, but not too smooth. We still want some of that texture from the peas and asparagus, and they'll finish cooking as the pasta comes together. Scrape down the sides, add some salt and lemon juice to taste. You can always adjust later, but it's nice if it tastes good now. This recipe makes quite a lot, so you might have a little left over. I like a bit of chili flake in here too, but that's optional. Whatever tastes good to you. When it's done, you should have a bright green chunky pesto that's honestly delicious just on its own. Now we use our handy dandy strainer to remove the vegetables and bay leaf from our stock. I can't live without these strainers. I've got about 7 different sizes in my kitchen. Once the stock is strained, bring it back to a boil and add the pasta all at once. While the pasta cooks, we can cut up our tomatoes. I'm just cutting them in half from the top down to expose their seed region. Now, I'm cooking the pasta for 2 minutes less than the bag says. What I'm looking for here is for it to be a little bit firmer than al dente, so for this noodle, that's a bit chalky in the center. When the pasta is done cooking, take about 500 milliliters or 2 cups of the pasta water out and throw it in a pan and start reducing it down. The idea here is to concentrate the flavor and the starch in the pasta water. That helps create a smooth sauce that holds everything together. Drain the pasta. Because there will be a few minutes between when we drain the pasta and when the water finishes reducing, that's why we undercook it slightly. It'll finish when it all comes together. Now you just want to reduce this down. I overdid mine, so if that happens to you, just add a touch of water to rehydrate it and put it back on the heat. Now we add our tomatoes and asparagus all at once, followed by the pesto. We want to warm it all up, and then we'll add the pasta. Now, I made this recipe to serve 4 people, and I didn't really think this through because I'm using a pan that's probably sized for 2. I realized that about here. After I put it all together, I moved it into a big pot, the pot that I blanched the pasta in. So keep that in mind. If you're cooking for 4, you might actually need quite a big pot, maybe a Dutch oven or bigger. Once everything's hot and combined, add the butter and stir until it's glossy and combined. Adjust the seasoning with salt and lemon juice to suit your taste, and you're ready to plate. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. It's a very young channel and every bit helps. I also want to let you know that any of the tools I'm using that are available on Amazon, I'm going to put on my Amazon store. Now you can plate this in individual bowls, or you can serve it family style like I've done here, and then make it rain Parmesan. Pasta Primavera that doesn't suck, hopefully. Alright, let's give it a taste. Oh, man. The texture of the English peas and asparagus, it's not watery at all. The best thing about this is that I'm getting texture, I'm getting the vegetables in every bite. I can taste the stock penetrating the noodle. The freshness of the tomatoes and lemon. Let me try a little more. The mint comes through. The lemon is just balancing. But you know what I'm not missing is watery broccoli or zucchini. I know this is a dish for 4, but it might just be for me. Did I mention how good the mint is in here?